again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today I'm finally, definitely, maybe going to talk about Kiss, a Kiss album for the last time. I've said this several times in the past when I've done Kiss records. I'm done with Kiss. And I'm not done with Kiss, but done with episodes about Kiss records. Because I thought I had them on, and I keep getting one more, and it's like in The Godfather 3, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in, and Kiss has a habit of pulling me back in, and also apparently making me not speak very well. I get flustered and flummoxed when I talk about Kiss. So today I'm going to talk about Alive 3, and here it is. And now I got this I'm getting to the point now where all the albums, I'll maybe get this out of the way now, pretty much every record that I talk about in coming episodes, the next 30 episodes, they're going to be records that I got a long time ago, last year. I haven't bought too many records in 2024. But anyway, the last Kiss record I did was Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. I didn't really have any intention of buying that or talking about it, but I was in Istanbul, Turkey in June, and I started to use Record Store. I thought, that's pretty cool, seeing a Kiss record in Istanbul on the other side of the world. So I thought, I will buy it. There are two more Kiss albums that realistically I would buy, and that I don't have. One that I definitely would buy, and that's Sonic Boom. That's the only studio record that I don't have. There are some compilations that I will never buy. The only compilations I've done are Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, and Double Platinum. I'm not interested in doing Greatest Kiss or You Wanted the Best or anything like that. Killers is maybe the other one that I never had that at any point. I never had it on CD. I never had the record at the time. I have seen it at El Chopo, way too expensive. I think it was 1,500 pesos, which is about $80 US. There's no way I would spend even half of that on Killers. And but this Alive 3, I got it some time ago, so I'm going to do it today. And you know why I'm finally getting to it today after all this time is it's Christmas time, as you may know. And as you also may know, I got Alive, the first record I ever got. Here it is right here. I got Alive for Christmas in 1976. So this time of year, I don't need reminders for how much I love Kiss Alive, but this time of year especially is always on my mind. And so that was what kind of spurred me to finally get to Kiss Alive 3. Now, I should say, when this first came out, I thought, oh man, this is awesome. It's Kiss Alive 3. I'm the biggest fan ever of Kiss Alive. The first record I got, the greatest album I've ever heard. Then at the time when I got it, because it was the first one, then in 1993. Even now, I think still Kiss Alive is the best record ever. And then Kiss Alive 2 came out when I was a kid. I love that too. And then this Alive 3 was the first Alive album in 15 years. I thought, oh my God, Kiss Alive 3. And I was, at the time, I liked it. And I do like it. It's always nice to have new, different versions of live or maybe live, re-recorded, whatever, like on Kiss Classics. It's always cool to have different versions. But I did like it, but it could never recreate the magic that Alive and even Alive 2 had. So there was that. Now also, there was a little bit disappointing to me that I didn't see this tour. This was Tua, as Paul Stanley calls it. It's like the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. Tua. I didn't see this Tua, the Revenge Tua in 1992. This played, I was living in Toronto at the time, of course, and in 1992, they played there at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto in 1992. It was October 2nd or October 3rd, and I remember Saigon Kick was playing the same night. And I loved Saigon Kick at the time, still love Saigon Kick now, and I will be doing a Saigon Kick episode, hopefully with a guest, sometime shortly. And I didn't go to either Saigon Kick or Kiss. I don't know why. And I kind of regret, I guess looking back on it now, it would have been cooler to see Saigon Kick because I had seen Kiss multiple times at that time and saw them multiple times after that. Never saw Saigon Kick before or after, so I missed that. So at this point, I guess I hadn't lost interest in Kiss. I really liked Revenge, but at this point, I had seen them on their 3 prior tours. I saw them on the Hot in the Shade tour. Crazy Nights, and Asylum. And I think it seems that I have, I don't know, maybe a tendency to, at that point anyway, to kind of give up on bands, at least live. Seeing them 3 times was enough. I saw Iron Maiden on Power Slave, Somewhere in Time, and Seventh Son, The Seventh Son. Didn't see them again until 2008. I saw Metallica on Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, Justice for All. Didn't see them again until Death Magnetic in 2009. Saw Motley Crue on Theater of Pain. Girls, no, Motley Crue, I think I only saw them twice back then. Yeah, Theater of Pain and Girls. But so 3 seemed to be the magic number, and by this point, I don't know, but I just didn't care to see Kiss on their Revenge tour. Now, there are a couple of problems with this record. Like other times when I've talked about Kiss, as much as you're putting the music aside, I'm going to talk about Kiss, Iron Maiden, Metallica. Iron Maiden and Metallica, they do everything right, regardless of whether you like the music or not, because Iron Maiden's music, it was ranged from questionable to sucked through most of the 90s. But, you know, especially since then, they do everything right. The way that they handled the Nico McBrain situation recently was great. Metallica also does everything great, just in terms of how they carry themselves as a band, how they announce things, how they space things apart. They always let you know they're there, but I don't think they you never really get sick of them. They always make the right moves. Kiss is the opposite. Kiss almost always does the wrong things, and almost seems second rate. You know, when WWF was getting really, really popular and WCW was on the way down, Kiss had this, I guess he was a sanctioned wrestler called the Demon or something, just terrible, with the second-rate organization. Kiss also had a, IndyCar car, not a NASCAR, not Formula One, but IndyCar, kind of low level. And even recently, last year, I guess it was around this time last year, a couple of weeks ago, it was mid-December 2023 when they played their last show, and they made the horrible, stupid announcement of unveiling those ridiculous avatars at their last show, or I think it was the day after the show, or maybe an hour after the last show. Those are the stupidest fucking things I've ever seen. They looked horrible, just the worst looking things I've ever seen, and said this is the future of Kiss, these avatars. And now it's a year later, and you know, there's at the time I don't think they gave a timeline, but shortly after that, I guess after the backlash, they said, but no, these avatars, they're going to look much better than this. They're going to be awesome, but we still have to work on them. And you know, here we are a year later, still nothing has happened. I don't know what's happening with those avatars. I guess they're still in the works, but and what else? Getting, you know, everybody wanted the original Kiss back together, so they got back together in '96 for the reunion tour, and then they said, we're going to do an album because you wanted the best, you got the best, and we're back together. And they did Psycho Circus, and Psycho sucked. Ace Frehley didn't play on it. Peter Criss, I think Ace Frehley played on 1 or 2 songs and sang 1 song. Peter Criss had no involvement in it except for his 1 ultra mega shitty song, and maybe I think he played drums on another song. Kiss always did things wrong, including here with the Live 3. This is maybe not as egregious as some of those examples, but this album is, how many songs? I think it's 16 or 17 songs. Let me count. 9 on the first record, plus 4 is 13, plus 4 is 17. So there's 17 songs on here, and the last one doesn't even really count as a song. Now, at the time, I didn't know this, I guess, until the internet era, when you could check set lists and stuff. This was the Revenge tour was their longest show ever in terms of songs. I think they did 24, maybe 25, 26, 27 songs. I don't know how many. So many of them were lopped off this album, and they were great songs. They were, I don't remember them all, but I know one was Christine 16. Parasite, they did on this tour, but was not on the album. It was either I Want You or Making Love, a song from Rockin' All Over. Or was it, no, I don't think they did Calling Dr. Love, but it was either I Want You or Making Love from Rockin' All Over that they did on this tour, but not on this album. To be consistent. What else did they not do? Hotter Than Hell, they did on the tour, but not on the album. Cold Gin, War Machine, amazing songs. And why not? Now I know that would have been a long album. Why not make this as a double album? This came out in '93. Vinyl. I don't think this ever was out on vinyl until this is the reissue that came out 10 years ago or something. So, that's not a thing. Or even, they could have made it a triple vinyl, triple record. But they could have made it a double CD, and it was one CD, and the CD was not even full. Because I listened to it today, as I always do before I do the episodes, and it was like 60, I don't know the exact time, 65, 66, 67, 68 minutes around there. They easily could have fit 2 more songs, maybe 3 more songs. Kiss songs are kind of short. And if anybody pays attention to anything I say, maybe Mike Pratt is the only one. You might be saying, well, you're a hypocrite, Dan Bowski, Mexico, because you always say albums are too long. Yes, they are. Albums are too long, but compilation albums and live albums should not be short. They should fill them up. So they could have added at least 3 songs, at least 2, at least maybe 3, possibly 4 songs from this record. From that Tua onto this record. So that, at the time, I didn't know that. I didn't know what songs I was missing, but then when you found out later, you kind of thought, man, this album could have been much better. So they, I guess, kind of cobbled this together from 3 shows. I think it was Detroit, Indianapolis, and I don't know, Cleveland, I think were the 3 cities that they took this album from. And it's also, maybe, I don't know if it's more noticeably doctored than Alive and Alive 2, because I'm more in tune with identifying those things, or it's like a retro thing after reading about all the things they've done. You go, oh yeah, I didn't know that they edited that, but now that I know that, yeah, I can hear that. But I think there's the edits on this are much more obvious than they were on the first two albums in the Alive series. So as for this album, when I think about it in general, the music, it's impossible not to for me to like this as much as Alive 1 and 2. It's impossible. I don't think I talked about this with when I did Alive, and I've mentioned it several times. I think there's not any song on Alive that I like better. All the songs on Alive I like better than the studio versions. Every single one. On Alive 2, there were some that I liked the studio better, some that I liked the live version better. Alive 3, there's maybe one or two, and I'm not that familiar with this, but there's 1 or 2 on this where I think the live versions are better. So largely this album is kind of a F for me. And about the track listing again, I have seen a few people over the years say that kind of defending Kiss or not defending. What's the word? The fact that Alive. Well, there was Alive, and then Alive 2. They didn't repeat any songs. So Alive. This one was taken from the first 3 albums. Alive 2 was taken from the next 3. Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun. They didn't repeat any songs. And some people thought, well, Kiss should have, they should have, actually they weren't defending at all. They were kind of cutting Kiss down. That it was stupid that they did this, that they should have kept the same thing and had no repeats on Alive 3, which is ridiculous to think that they're going to cull an entire live album from this Tua, which would have been, I don't know how many songs they did on this Tua that were not from those first 6 albums, but it's ridiculous to think. So they couldn't keep that gimmick up. So I have no problem with this album being mixed, but all the songs that were dropped from this were old songs, as far as I know. I don't know if there were any revenge songs that they done on the Tua that were not on this album, but they were mostly old songs except War Machine, which I guess there was not an official version of it. And also you'd think at some point, and I'm kind of going all over the place now, you'd think at some point over the years they would have put this out as a deluxe edition, anniversary edition, collector's edition, mega, super, whatever edition, and they would have. I'm sure they have it in their vaults. They could have. I mean, obviously the full shows were recorded. I think it's too bad that, and they really, I think, did they either miss the boat or drop the ball? I'm not sure. Maybe they dropped the ball and missed the boat. But in putting out a full 2-hour record or CD of this album taken from this Tua with all the live songs. And I would have been okay if they had doctored and everything, but just give me all the songs. I want to hear the live versions of from the current band, which is Paul and Gene, obviously, and Eric Singer and Bruce Kulick. I would have liked to have heard versions of Christine 16 and Cold Gin and Love Gun was another one. I don't know if I mentioned Love Gun, I think. And whatever the Rock and Roll Ova song was, I would have liked to have heard versions of those songs by this lineup of Kiss at the time. But maybe they'll do it at some point, but you kind of think if they haven't done it at this point, they're probably never going to do it. So that's what I think about Kiss Alive 3. I will go through it track by track now, and probably not too much to say about the individual songs. As I said, I'm not overly familiar with them as I am with, I know every little nuance of Alive and Alive 2. This one, not even close, although I am pretty familiar with it. All right, I will open it up now. And it is a gatefold, and it is a double record. That was keeping with the tradition. Oh, and there's a hype sticker. I think all of the 2014 reissues all have the hype sticker. 180 gram audiophile vinyl. First vinyl reissue since 1993. So I guess, maybe, was this out on vinyl originally? There are Kiss nerd collectors who would know more about that than I do. I know I could check this on the internet, but I haven't done that. It seems strange to me that they would have released this on vinyl in 1993, because nobody realistically was releasing vinyl in 1993. So there it is. I have to say, it was pretty cool at the time, seeing and knowing, wow, there's Alive 3. And the gatefold, as always, I give you, the viewer, the first glimpse. I think it's the big, I think it's similar to, similar to the back cover, the Statue of Liberty with the orange lights, or is it a collage? Oh, what is this? I remember this from the CD. Yeah. There were some mistakes on here. So they have the Kiss, man, I forgot about this. The Kiss timeline, starting with Treasure. I don't even, who is Treasure? That was Vinnie Vincent. So that was Vinnie Vincent's first band. Okay, Wicked Lester. Lita Ford goes with Eric Singer, and then Eric Singer went to Kiss. Good Rats. Warrior was also Vinnie Vincent. Frehley's Comet. What was the mistake on here? There was something with, there were a couple of mistakes. I remember, God, you remember stupid things. One of them was, it's a Black Sabbath thing in the Black Sabbath timeline, because Eric Singer played briefly with Black Sabbath, and did they list Tony Iommi's name as Tommy Iommi? I think that was one of them. I think that was one. I don't see it here. But the other one was, they got the, they put the track listing inside, and which studio album each song was from originally, and they fucked up at least one, maybe two. Okay, Creatures of the Night, I Still Love You, and I Love It Loud, are from Creatures of the Night. Deuce and Watching You are from Kiss. Watching You is not from Kiss. Watching You is from Hotter Than Hell, so that's one mistake. Okay, they got the Revenge songs, Heaven's on Fire from Animalize. I Was Made for Loving You is from Dress to Kill. This is again, man, these guys, I love Kiss, but they I think by this point they didn't have too much quality control. Yeah, they've got that I Was Made for Loving You is from Dress to Kill. That's the only mistake. I thought there were more than that. Oh, and also I think Shout It Out Loud was done on this too as well, and not on the album. Let me see the Black Sabbath thing. Here it is. Yes, Tommy Iommi. I don't know if it's too small to read. I think is it here? Yeah, they've got Tommy Iommi instead of Tony Iommi. Really bad. It just makes Kiss looks like a Mickey Mouse band, which they shouldn't have been. And the actual records are just, all right, just black vinyl, nothing else. So it's a nice looking the gatefold. It's pretty cool and quite informative. It's just the information is wrong, which kind of defeats the purpose of giving information. But a little throwback to some to the old makeup days there, kind of cool. And over here too. All right. So the first song they open with this, that they open with on this tour was "Creatures of the Night." I don't love "Creatures of the Night," the album. I know it's a very, very beloved Kiss album. I don't like it. I like it. I don't dislike it. I just think it's fine, not as much as most people. The song "Creatures of the Night," it's okay. I'm not sure if I like the live version or the studio version better. I don't really have a preference, but it was, I guess, kind of different for them to open with this anyway. Next is On. There are a couple of songs when I listened to this today that really stood out, and I don't know which songs they were. You can clearly hear the studio magic. Paul Stanley is magically singing. He's not singing the backing and the lead vocals at the same time, but they do kind of overlap far too quickly, and maybe in a different register for him to switch that register. I don't know if I'm explaining myself properly, but there's some pretty obvious trick around here. Next is Deuce. Now, you know, Deuce is really the first rock or the first heavy metal song, if you want to call it that I ever heard, of course, because Alive was the first record I ever got. So Deuce was the first song I ever heard. Nothing ever will top, no version will ever top Deuce, including this one. But this one's pretty good. There is some, this is where Gene started, "I Want to Hear Ya." I think it was on around this time when he started doing that during Deuce. Kind of cool that they had it as the second song instead of the opener. I Just Wanna. I love that song. I think I Just Wanna is a great song. I love that on Revenge. I love this version. This is maybe the only one, maybe there's another I don't remember, that I do like the live version better than the studio version. And I love the studio version, but this one is just, it sounds more energetic. I don't particularly like the middle sing-along part. And is it also this one? There's one song, I think it was this one, the intro. You know what's also missing from this album? Maybe good, maybe bad, is a lot of Paul Stanley's stage banter. That you know became such a kind of a fun part of Kiss shows. You know, Paul's ridiculous stage banter. At the time, I thought it was cool, and to some extent, I still do. But it's also very silly. But I think it is before I Just Wanna. He says something like, you know, I'm sure he addressed the audience by calling them people. He said something like, "People, it's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly." And I don't understand what that means. What is he talking about? What does that have to do with the song? I think that was the introduction to I Just Wanna. And what does that have to do with the concert? Just the good, the bad, and the ugly? It makes no sense for him to say that. Although I think a lot of things that Paul Stanley said in his pre-prepared stage banter didn't make any sense. But yeah, I Just Wanna is a good song. Pho, they make a big deal of pho. I got one word I want you to say, whatever it is, a pho, and that word is pho. Good song, and I really like this version. Next is Unholy. I love Unholy. This one, the live version, I don't like nearly as much. The studio version has that power. The live version, I think, it's kind of funny on a live, all those versions capture the power that the studio version didn't have. But on this one, I feel like Unholy is kind of lacking the punch. Gene's voice isn't as powerful or as strong as it was on the studio version, and it's got that kind of almost like a Jaws intro on the guitar. I was born through the ages, chained slaves. God, I was born through the ages, chained slaves to their cages. I was born through the ages, chained slaves through the cages. I can see you eat your own. I had the, God, I can't remember. Why am I fucking that up? I can see you eat. I'm the infection and famine that's knocking at your door. I am the incubus, I lay the egg in you, the worm that burrows through your brain. Anyway, yeah, Unholy is a great song. The live version, it's okay, but not so much. Heaven's on Fire, another stupid introduction to this one. Paul says something like, this is one of those songs you know the song from the intro. You hear the intro and you go, oh yeah, I know that song. I know that song. And then he goes into Heaven's on Fire. I do like this version. It's got a little bit more energy than the studio version, a little bit faster. I don't know if I would go so far as to say I like it better than the studio version on Animalize, but it was cool to hear this on an official Alive album. Side 2 of the first record would be Watching You. One of my favorite Kiss songs. The Kiss the version on Alive can never be topped, including on this one. It's good. Watching You, any version of Watching You is great, but come on, huh? Next is Domino. I love Domino too. As I said, I do like Revenge. I think Domino, and I love the version on. I would say I like the version on Unplugged even better than this version on Alive 3. It just doesn't. I think doesn't really lend itself to a big arena rock show. But I like Domino. The version is so-so. I Was Made for Loving You. This, I think, is one of the ones where you can, I could be wrong, but you can pretty clearly tell that there's some overdubs done on Paul's voice. Actually, this is another, I'm not sure if I like the live version better than the studio version. It is more of a hard rock song than the Dynasty or the Dynasty version. But again, cool to have, similar to Heaven's on Fire, cool to have a kind of a different version of it. Next is I Still Love You. Don't care about this song. I don't particularly like the one on Creatures of the Night. Don't particularly like the one on Unplugged. And don't particularly like this one. Yeah, so that's a kind of a 0 song for me. The next record on side 1, this is interesting. It's Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day. Very strange to hear the song. You know, when I was listening to it today, I listened to it on the digital version. And so it was in the middle of the show. It's track 10. And I assume that it was also around that same position in the show. They didn't close with it. I think it was really only on the reunion tour that they really, really, really cemented Rock and Roll All Night as their really, closing song. I think before this, they sometimes closed with Detroit Rock City. Maybe, I don't know what else they closed with. But they maybe closed the main set on some tours with Rock and Roll All Night. But very strange that Rock and Roll All Night is in the middle of the show. I like that. Actually, I really like that. I think it's cool. It's kind of a surprise. The version of it, it's okay. But it doesn't have the big sing-along. I don't know if they cut that out because the version is only 2:49, which is right around the length of the studio version. So yeah, there's no sing-along in here as there was on the live. But it's okay. Next is Lick It Up. There was some stupid introduction to this too. Was it? No, it wasn't Lick It Up. No, it was another song. I'll get to that. Lick It Up. Again, cool hearing the live version of it, but nothing special. I seem to be saying that a lot. Next is Forever. This one, the stupid introduction. And to me, there's something different about his voice. It sounds like it was dubbed in, that his introduction was dubbed over. And Paul Stanley says, every time we play this one, the place lights up like a damn Christmas tree. And then they play Forever. I love Forever. I think it's a great song. So much better than Reason to Live, which was the ballad from the previous album on Crazy Nights. And I like Forever. But no, I don't like this version better than the original studio version. Take It Off. This is the one that, and I think this was not on the original CD because I forgot to get it out. On the original CD, I'm sure it wasn't on here because they had the Kiss. Was it Kiss Confidential or Extreme Close-Up? I think it was Kiss Confidential that they kind of a home video that they took mostly from this tour. And there was a video version of Take It Off on there that was not on the CD. But it is on the album. This is one. What does Paul Stanley say in this one? Something like he says, guys. He does like the guys and girls thing. Guys, how many of you? God, he can. I'm making fun of the guy. He speaks way better than I do. He says, guys, be honest with me. How many of you like to look at naked women? And the crowd says, yeah, I do. And then he says, girls, be honest with me. How many of you want to go home tonight and get naked with your man or something like that. And very cringy, very appropriate of the time, I guess. But I really like Take It Off, the song from Revenge. This one, I can't say I like it more or less than the studio version. It's just a little bit different. Next is I Love It Loud. It's fine. I like, maybe in general, I like it better live, not just on this record, but on the countless times they've played it since then. I think I like it. I Love It Loud a little bit more. It's a little bit faster when they play it live. It's got a little bit more energy to it. Next is Detroit Rock City. I love Detroit Rock City, of course, but guess what? This version is not as good as a version from Alive 2, as you would expect. Yeah, I don't know. That's enough about that. Thankfully, there's only 2 songs left. And they're both, well, the next song is God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too. That song fucking sucks. Any version of it sucks. I talked about this, I hope I did when I did Revenge. I think that song is horrible. It's one of the worst, maybe not one of the worst Kiss songs. That could be almost anything on Crazy Nights or Hot in the Shade. But for songs that have become kind of like staples for Kiss, God Gave Rock and Roll to You is the worst for sure. I think that song would have been better served being dropped many years ago. I don't like any version of it. Sucks. And then they finish with, and I think this is a waste of time, the Star Spangled Banner. What do you think? Do you like the original studio versions of these songs better, or the live versions from Alive 3? What do you think? I think I know how to get her to speak. Do you think these songs are treats? She knows the words treats. Yeah? Are these songs treats? Okay. Yeah, Star Spangled Banner. Yeah, it's very patriotic, and it fit in with the theme, the Statue of Liberty, I guess. I think it's a waste on this album. They could have lopped this one off. How long is this? 2:38. So if they had cut this one off, that would have brought this album down to about 62, 63 minutes. They could have fit another 17 minutes of it, of music, of songs on this album, which is another 5 songs, 4 to 5, 6 songs, I don't know. But a weak way to end the album, I think. Maybe if you're at the show, and I think at this point the Statue of Liberty was crumbling, which they probably stole that idea from Metallica, Doris, crumbling down. But for me, a weak way to end this album. Oh, it says here, yeah, recorded live in Cleveland, Detroit, and Indianapolis. All right, that's all. So I hope you enjoyed this, Mike Pratt, because it's going to be a long time, I think, before I ever talk about a Kiss album again. That's all. Thank you for watching. I hope everybody had a good Christmas. And this is not quite the last one of the year, I don't think. I think I'll have another one up before the end of the year. I'm not sure. In any case, this was the final maybe episode of I Want to Talk About This Album to feature Kiss. And it's Alive 3.